Whenever you're ready.
In 5, 4, 3. Hello, everybody. My name is Justin Jones, and this is The Mission Continues. And today I have with me Mr. Steve Elmore, a fellow brother in arms, and a good buddy of mine I met back, what was it, about 1 or 2 months ago, Woody? I think we met in Operation 1620. It was Veterans Day. We had a little Veterans Day thing on Operation 1620, or on with Operation 1620. But my buddy here is a director and has put out a very, very fine documentary called Unprescribed. I recommend that you check it out. It is on Amazon. It is amazing. It really gives you a different perspective on what there's a lot of stigmatism against cannabis. Medical cannabis is, and I'm a very open person about how I've done, but I'm actually a prior medical cannabis patient. And I mean, he'll be able to agree with me on some of this stuff, but I'm gonna let him take the floor and kind of introduce himself and kind of tell you about Unprescribed, because I'm telling you, it's definitely groundbreaking.
All right, is it on me?
Yep.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me today, Justin. Appreciate it. Yeah, so I produced Unprescribed as a suicide survivor myself, and it was something that somebody had come to me to help them with the project they were working on, a couple of veterans, and they told me all about cannabis and how it's helping everything from NFL players with traumatic brain injuries to veterans with PTSD. And all the time leading up to that, I had always believed that, cannabis was this, this federally illegal drug that's on the Schedule 1. And like, even with being a veteran in the military, it's a career killer and everything else. So I thought, okay. And, even when I first got in the military, I thought, well, whatever, I'll just follow rules, but I don't see what's so bad about it. What's the difference between alcohol and all that? But then when I got out and I learned this facts that you could use cannabis as medicine, it really opened my eyes and made me look into understanding more about this. And so, like I mentioned before, having attempted suicide on more than one occasion in the past, and being an anxiety patient and having a number of different disabilities, I thought, well, this is worth looking into. And so I started production on Unprescribed and went down to Florida and started interviewing different veterans. Actually, I went all over the country, and everywhere I went, the stories were all the same. These guys are just given big bottles of pills from the VA for all these different traumatic injuries they have, and it was leading many of them to want to take their lives. In the film, there's one scene where Josh says, I felt like a complete piece of shit. I wanted to take my life, but it wasn't me. It was the pills doing that to him. And so I realized that there's got to be, this needs to be raised more attention, because this was in 2017 and we were at the height of the opioid crisis. And, if we had just sat back and not discussed that, we would still have issues with guys getting addicted to it and so forth. And we're still trying to heal from that. And so it's time that we need to introduce cannabis as an alternative to some of those other drugs, because we've basically been lied to by big pharma and by our own government for selfish reasons, financial, political, and even legal reasons. The DEA uses it for drug busts and so forth. And so in 2020, I released the film finally, after doing some tours in the film festival circuits, and it did got a little bit of a following, definitely within the veteran community. And then on Veterans Day this prior year, I released it for free on Amazon, and it just started picking up. And so now it's seeing a new life. And now that we're here, it's 2 years later in 22. I decided to make that my fight campaign is we lose 22 a day to suicide. Let's make it 22 less than 22. And so here we go. And it's really interesting too, with that number in mind. The release date originally for the film was on 2 February 2020. And it just, that number didn't really bounce out to me, but now we're at 2/22/2022. So I see it as a sign that this is the year that we're going to make an impact.
Oh yeah, especially that you're doing that on the 22nd of February, and that's
Yep.
when we have our our first annual event up in it's in the Wisconsin Dells at I believe it's called the Kalahari Resort.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's going to be on February 22nd, 2022, or the Wisconsin Dells, the Kalahari Resort. There's going to be a job fair. There's going to be a gala, private concert, a private screening of a documentary called Project 22. I'm also going to be doing some of my first bit of filming for the docu-series there, because the docu-series is actually once a year. I'm going to do the event to see how much it grows over the years, because this event is going to become an annual thing. We got big plans for this one this year. Like my vice president, but she's also, a president of her own nonprofit. I mean, this woman, I'm telling you, one of these days, Steve, I think you have met Anna Marie, haven't you?
I don't know if I met her in person or not, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to get you linked up with her, because I'm telling you, this woman, man, she's the one who inspired me. Like, this woman she has no quit in her whatsoever. Like, it's very inspiring. But no, like, I understand where you're coming from, because like usually I wouldn't do this because of a podcast, but you notice how I have a cold pack on my shoulder, because back in the day they would just give me pain meds. And back at one time, I won't lie, back at one time I abused medicines bad, and it got worse. Like, it started off because I had my PTSD. It started off as, buying them off the streets and doing it like that. And then it got to where it was prescribed, and it got worse. And it literally almost took my life in July of 2016. And from that moment on, I only take one medicine. The rest are vitamins and like supplements and stuff. I don't. Now, if a doctor prescribes me, like, I take probiotics and stuff, I just don't like, unless it's like a life or death situation, I don't want that stuff, because I know what it's done. And just like you, I had a lot of buddies, even though I think we're all human, most teenage kids, I ain't going to say all, but at least more than half teenage kids are going to sit there and smoke in their lifetime when they're younger. And then that time you are abusing, because people don't know you. Even though cannabis is a naturally grown, it's not even like alcohol. Alcohol, there's stuff that has to be done literally. Cannabis is something that's put in the ground and it grows. Nothing special done to it. I mean, if you want a quality, cannabis, then you got to sit there and put like I can't remember the technical term, but basically when I decided to move up to Illinois in 2018, like, I started doing research into it. Like, there was so much more science, like, terpenes, and I thought there was just CBD and but there was like so many other things, CBC, CBG, CBN. And, using 1-to-1 ratio things are really good if you don't want the psychoactive effect, but you want the medicinal. Like, I used to get the transdermal patches from Aries Medical, And what it did for me was amazing. Like, I didn't feel nothing, but I felt at ease and my body didn't hurt, but I didn't have no psychoactive effects. I was able to operate on all however many cylinders I got left. But no, I agree with you, man. And that's the reason why when I seen it out, I was blown away, because I hate the fact that there's such a stigmatism. And it's just like everything else. Anything out there, whether it be alcohol, whether it be any kind of drugs out there, anything can be abused. It's about being smart. But pharmaceutical, like, I've never been a big fan of it, just due to the fact, well, these days I'm not a big fan, because these things are made, like I said, natural cannabis grows from the earth. Pills, all these hard drugs are made doing all these different things, where cannabis is something that literally was growing wild for years, probably back into biblical times for all we know.
It is. It actually it dates back to. In fact, I went to in DC. There's this neat little cannabis museum. It's just a hole in the wall, but he has the way he's set up. You walk around the walls, and it's the whole historical thing dating back to. I know he had an Egyptian time, and I think he dates it back to ancient China. If I'm not, I'm not going to quote myself on that one, but it has been used medicinally, recorded for a while. In fact, the film starts out with a quote from the Bible that says, God gave every green plant on this earth to man. I'm summarizing it. And when I first started the film, it was called Project Kana. And Kanabosum, if I'm saying it right, is the from biblical times, the word for I think it was a medicinal plant or holy herb or something like that. But if you actually do the research in it, you can trace some connection and the possibility that the holy oils that Jesus and others before him anointed disciples with was they can trace it to cannabis, amazingly. So it's a very good argument for it, and it just shows that it's been around for thousands of years. And in fact, it used to be legal in the United States, and there was even it was in pharmacies, and even our founding fathers, George Washington, had a hemp farm. So
Yep.
It's if you watch the film, you'll get a brief history of cannabis prohibition, and just basically it's steeped in racism. It really did. It starts in 1937 with the Marijuana Tax Stamp Act, to try to prohibit from Mexicans and people of color who used it. And so it continued into the 60s when Nixon made the federal drug schedule, so they go after hippies and blacks for all the protests and things that was going on at that time.
And give me Nixon. He was I'm not a crook guy, correct?
Yeah,
Mr. Watergate.
Mr. Watergate, the one president to resign because he got caught red-handed doing illegal shit. So yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I agree on all cylinders with the whole cannabis thing, because like after I did my research and stuff, I learned how to dose it, because that was the biggest thing, is knowing how to dose it where it actually you get the more medical benefits. Because I used to be a person that abused cannabis. Like I said earlier, we all did it in high school, or some of us did it in high school, and of course I was one of them. But and I abused it back then. But after learning the sciences behind it, this strand is good for this. Like, for example, Charlotte's Web, even though that's like a high CBD strand, that help kids with was it called irretractable epilepsy or something like that?
Hmm.
Like, and
Yeah,
that's
you're right.
the
It
name.
did.
The name Charlotte came from the actual child that they made it for. Granted, if I remember correct, she's no longer with us. God rest her soul. But that right there showed a lot of promise to this nation that cannabis is not bad as everybody makes it out to be. It's what this the propaganda and stuff they put out to make people believe, like, reefer madness made it seem like everybody was going crazy. I met some people that use cannabis as medicine just like you, and cannabis is actually it opens our minds to the possibilities and stuff. Like, to me, some of my best ideas came when I would sit there and I'd medicate and I'd sit back and just relax. I'd put on some music and I would just start writing down ideas.
Well,
I
it takes
mean,
the worries away. It lets you focus. It clears your head. It slows you down.
and you
And,
zone in.
yeah.
You're focused. I mean,
Mhm.
it's
But you
crazy how laser focused you get.
you touched on abusing it, and that's all the more reason why we should legalize it, especially medically wise, so that we can do the research to show that there are different terpenes and different cannabinoids and different things that affect different people different ways. If we like, we're all basically our own guinea pigs, and we're learning it, and we're proving that it is effective. And we're also showing that, like any other medicine, it can be abused. You can take it simply just to get high and just, like, you know mind warp yourself. But so is alcohol, and so is, taking your freaking morphine. You just don't abuse it. You should have a clinician involved and help you guide through it. Right now, our bud tenders are our clinicians in states where it's legal for medicine. And these guys they don't know. They just know from their own experience. But if we can get, regular doctors involved to understand drug interactions and other things like that, we have a plant that could heal. And the fact that it's a plant and we can grow it in our own backyard, like you said, is the big reason why it's not been legalized. Because, big pharma and paybacks to politicians and so forth.
Agreed.
Don't get me wrong. There's medicines that are great things. Look at the COVID vaccine, for example. But and even for myself, I still take a small dose of Effexor for my anxiety, because I know that my body just it needs those different, properties to get myself calibrated to keep my head straight. But I've
Yeah,
reduced it because the cannabis actually does so many more things, like help me with my insomnia, and it helps me reduce my Effexor, which made me gain a lot of weight. And also, if you ever go through withdrawals of Effexor, it's like heroin withdrawals, I guess. They're pretty wicked. And so we just need more research and more education to find out the goods and the bads about it, and so people can use it safely.
I completely agree, man. More than you know. And like, it's just wrong that there's such a stigmatism behind it. That's what makes it so bad. Because, like I was saying earlier, I believe I've met people that were heroin addicts that are operating like they have their family, they're working, like hardworking individuals, like they're very big in their community as well. And they use cannabis because they were able to use cannabis to get away from those hard drugs like that. People just don't understand how much of a game changer cannabis can be as long as it's not abused.
Mhm.
It like, I don't say game changing a lot, but it really can be. But like you said, it's big pharma has their hand in it. And, as long as the rich keep on getting rich and the poor stay poor, I mean, that's what I don't like about it. And that's the reason why, like with, this podcast I did, this is a place where I want people to come and people like people that's trying to make a change, people that's making movies, people that's actually doing game changing things. Like that's what it's all about. Or just even having a convo with a veteran that just wants to talk about his struggles and all that stuff, just it gives people a chance to see firsthand what veterans go through and what we're doing to make things better for us. Since, I mean, I feel that the VA and the government's failed us because I feel like we're just a number. Because like me being 100%, to me, I feel like they're just ready to get rid of me because that's one less payment they got to pay out. So they have a bad habit of being, like, here, take this, here, take that. And I agree with you. Like I said, I take one anxiety medication, but other than that, I don't take anything else unless I'm in such severe pain that the doctors feel that I need something. I would never take anything. That's the reason. Like my shoulder's been hurting, so I put my ice pack on, and I do physical therapy for it. Like I try everything in my power to make sure I'm not taking any medicines. If I can, I've toughed out a lot of pain, and I mean I deal with a lot of pain, but I tough it out just because of the fact I've been down that road. I know what that road can lead to, and it did almost lead me to my, not the place that you want to go, but thanks to certain things that happened, uh, that day I kind of got a wake up call. And having an autistic son, I don't want my son to see me like that, but I do want him to see me rise from the ashes, and that's what I've done. I've came a long way, and that's the beauty of it, is if we can do something, sooner than later, because obviously there's a timeline for the VA. We can actually make a change, and that's what I'm loving right now. Over the last, I'd say since 2018, I jumped into the nonprofit sector, and I joined a group called the Fallen Outdoors. And that was, I met a gentleman by the name of Jason. I'm not going to say his last name for, certain reasons, but that man, once again, he saved my life. Because I mean, I ain't saying I was going back down that road again, but I was having some pretty hard times, and we met, and like he introduced me to the Fallen Outdoors, and I was getting to raise money to sit there and put veterans and active duty out on hunting, fishing, and trips. It's like all these people are finally stepping up. All of our brothers and sisters are finally stepping up and fighting back, because I mean, we lose our way a lot. I ain't gonna say I don't know the statistics, but I feel that at least 50% or more of us, when we get out the military, we're we're just even if you do your first contract stint, you're ingrained a certain way. You've been trained. You can go from being a civilian to a soldier, but once you become a soldier, there's no going back to civilian. We're always going to be like this, so we're always going to fight. And sometimes we get down on ourselves, like we have, and it gets the best of us. But we've got to the point that we finally see the situation for what it is, and we're tired of it. So what are we going to do? We're going to do exactly what they train us to do. We're going to fight back, but we're going to do it without weapons. We're going to do it with being active and actually standing up and speaking our mind and letting the people know that, we're not going to take this no more. We served our country. We gave up, we gave and signed a check up to our life for the country. And now, I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I feel like a third world citizen, how even some civilians treat us, just because they, like some guys out there, they'll be like, you got a military discount. People will like, you think you're better? no, I don't think I'm better, but you don't know. Like, I won't ask for a military discount, but back at one time when I was struggling financially, anything, especially as a family man, if I'm struggling with money but I want to get my family some food in a discounted rate, I'm gonna do whatever it takes. But it's just it's mad how cannabis has got such a stigmatism when really it's really changing the game. And like, it really had, I mean, the medicinal properties, man, it's crazy, especially if you use like a 1-to-1 ratio, or even if it's higher in CBD and THC. It's just a fact when you get CBD and THC together, the things it can do. Like, it's amazing, because like I was saying, those patches I used to put on, man, for 12 hours, no pain. Man, I was running like I was 13, 14 years old again. But as soon as it wore off, I was in pain like crap, because, I didn't
Hmm.
feel it for the last 12 hours. And now I just sit there and been running around for 12 hours. But I mean, it's, it just saddens me, man. It's just like, people need to open their eyes. People need to be more open minded about stuff and give things a chance, instead of going on, that's the devil's lettuce, or, it's nonsense.
It's true. It's true. Well, that's why we've got, um, geez, nearly 40 states have legalized it in one way or another. What is the federal government going to do when we're all 50 states? It's like ignoring the giant gorilla in the room. You know what I
It
mean?
really is.
It really, and like I said, they're hanging on to it for law enforcement, I think, number one, and um, and big pharma number two. I mean, think about it. Who who runs who runs the schedule? The DEA. They're not a medical organization. How do they even have any way, shape, or form being able to dictate what's a category, a Schedule 1, Schedule 2, 3, 4, 5 drug? It's absolute arrogance and totalitarian power that they're using just so they can bust kids for their vehicles smelling like weed, so they can inspect them and then bust them for something else. So, and most of the time it's just innocent people. People are getting locked up for having medical cannabis driving through states that are not legal, and it's just because we've been ingrained to believe that it's an illegal drug, that it's dangerous, that it has no medicinal properties whatsoever, which is bullshit. It's
Mhm.
absolutely a medical plant. We are ignoring the 300-pound gorilla in the room, and it's time for change.
It is,
Oh,
very much is. So, you got anything moving forward? You got anything else going on? I know we've talked a couple of times. We usually talk once a week these days and just kind of catch up if we can. But I know, during I call it the pre-show, because it's just, us before we go live. But I know you'd mentioned some possible upcoming things. I know you might be working with some folks, and I'm always down to collab and do whatever I can to help you. But you got anything going on upcoming? Any big plans or anything?
we were looking forward to screening in Boston in February. It looks like it might get pushed back to March now. But in the works of that, we started getting offers of charitable contributions to help promote the film or raise awareness. And that led us to launch a new nonprofit, and we're calling it The Unprescribed. And so, based on the film, it's all about plants over pills and getting people off of polypharma. Essentially, it's going to be a suicide prevention and awareness outreach program. And
Yeah.
so, our goal is to develop outreach materials, suicide prevention videos. But with that, we also want to take a hard dive and continue the unprescribed story, and maybe make a series of short films, covering people getting off of the pills. And so that's what the unprescribed means. The unprescribed are people who have found alternative healing besides pharmaceuticals, be it psilocybin, cannabis, electromagnetic therapy, and so forth. Our goal is just to save veterans and prevent suicide. So originally we were going to make it a cannabis legalization, but because there's so much federal pushback, that might have an impact on us being a nonprofit. And when we all talked about it and really got down to it, even my film Unprescribed, which looks like a cannabis film, is really a suicide prevention film. And so that's what our mission is moving forward with the new organization. And so we're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to help you with that if you need anything from me, because been there, done that, bought that t-shirt. Hey, there you go. Idea, Unprescribed t-shirts, bro.
There you go. Well, yeah, we did talk about it in the beginning. I mean, I do credit you were an inspiration. Like I said before, people don't know that we just randomly crossed paths and started talking about these things. And both of us had a vision for some kind of a docuseries, and we put our heads together. And I think, we discussed working on the different things in things. So in conjunction, I think it'll be a great opportunity to do some cross promotion. I think if we can venture out and get two big projects, because you have yours is going to be more like a steady cam, kind of like a live action sort of really happening sort of thing. And I think ours is going to be more like a how did the one woman describe it? Sort of like a Barbara Walters type of thing. I don't know if I'm going to go that route. She was,
Right.
But I'm going to continue with the theme of how Unprescribed was filmed and keep the project going of telling stories.
That's
so yeah,
awesome,
let's
bro.
do it.
Really is.
Yeah. So I owe you a lot of credit for getting me off that, because people don't know that for the last year and a half, or since the quarantine and everything going on in 2020, 2021, it just shut me down. And that's part of the reason why I randomly just released Unprescribed on Veterans Day, was just because I was like, well, hang my hat. It's a year later, and I guess I told my story the best I could, and suddenly now it's found a new audience. And so I a lot of things just pinged off of each other, from you,
Yeah.
1620, Ron's on the board too. Ron's the organizer of the Operation 1620, Ron
Yep.
Millward. So he's on board. We have I have a psychologist on board, or psychiatrist, Lynn Bornfriend. She's a friend with Ron as well, and she's spoken on many occasions with him and done his programs. And a few other people in both the cannabis community, and well, we all are between the veteran, suicide, and cannabis communities. We're a tight-knit bunch, and I think we ultimately do center it around our mental health. And I think that's the most important thing, is just to look out for each other. So thank you for offering that help, because that's what we do. We're selfless. I think most of us in the military have just been taught about our core values of looking out for each other. I mean, that's why the Air Force has wingmen and the Army has battle buddies and stuff. They trained us to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the best takeaways the military has given us.
Yeah,
So
we gotta rely. We're like one huge family. Like we've never physically met, but I'd have your back, no doubt about it. You're just like family to me, and to me more than my own family. Because when I was going through my problems, my family they gave up on me, but I didn't give up. And that's the thing we're both trying to combat is. And I mean, I might have mentioned it earlier, but I don't know if you've heard the newest updates, but you know that number of 22 has actually gotten into the 30s now since the pandemic started.
I believe it. I want to find a report on that. If you do, please send it to me. I think that's valuable.
I'll do my research, but Yeah, when I heard that, it just it I ain't gonna lie, I cried a little bit because I'm like, man, we're not going in the direction we need to be going.
Mhm.
And now we're in the 30s. That's not good because I mean, even at 3,000, you're talking about, that's, man, I can't even fathom how many people that is a year. Because I know back when it was 22 people, it was like 8,000 veterans, 10,000 veterans a year, and now that number's surpassed 10,000, getting close to 15, probably, if not over 15. That's just too many veterans, man. Going down that rabbit hole. That we, that's just, yeah. It's for anybody that's never had experience, PTSD or anxiety or suicide, especially suicide. It's not a place you want to be. It's a very dark place, and it's a scary place because in some senses you kind of lose control.
Suicide is the easy way out. It's turning off the light switch. I relate it to my insomnia. I just want to go to sleep because I just want to shut the world down. I don't there's and that's why cannabis helps too, because it calms the mind. They make fun of stoners and things, and they're like, oh, they're so slow. But you know what? You really take the time to stop and think about things, though.
Yeah,
But you have time to focus because you know I think I can relate it to autism in a sense. It's a chaos. It's too much noise and confusion. And at least for me personally, that's how my anxiety is. When there's like I
yeah,
have social anxiety, I can't go in a public place because it's just too many distractions and I panic for no reason at all. Like I worry about, am I going to get out of here safely? Things. And it helps you just slow down and collect your senses and realize everything around you and that everything is okay and that it's just your mind getting active. And that's, I think, why it helps us creatively. It helps us focus on stop worrying about this. I know it lowers the I guess judgment of yourself. Say no, you can do it, and you do it, type of thing. So
yeah. I agree. More than you'll ever know, brother. Yeah, I've been sitting here thinking about stuff about like things just need to change, plain and simple. We all know this. There's no doubt about it. Um, I'm glad you're moving forward, and trust me, you inspired me as well because just the documentary itself, and then actually meeting you and actually getting to talk more and more and getting to know each other. It's definitely honestly, it's the same story we're hearing so much. It's just like when we sit there and we actually cross paths, it's well, we all have same story. It's not the same story. We all have different stories, but we were going towards that same outcome of suicide. And for quite a few veterans, cannabis helped them finally break that, you know, and it's just good that finally, just like you said, more than 40 states are medical, and if I remember correct, or it's closing in on 40, and I think like 12 or 13 states are recreational. Which I mean, I won't lie, I'm all for the medical, federally. Recreational, it is hard because then you will have the abusers, but there are people out there that could actually use it for medical that won't abuse, that don't have any of the conditions that are required to get a medical card. So that
well,
makes it hard.
yeah, in fact, I think Dr. Sisley was the one who said it. Um, if we may be better off if we just went full legalization instead of medical, because then we don't have to drag the FDA through everything and go through all of those trials and everything that it takes. In the
Yeah,
film, she talks about it, and one of the women in the film talk about it. It's a process. So even if we got medically legalized across the board at the federal level right now. It'll still be years before we see it ever really becoming into fruition, which is why we need to fight more and more and more now to get it done instead of dragging our feet on it. It's been 100 years now that it's been illegal, but we need to fix that. We need to change that.
Amen, brother. So anything like you said, you're gonna start doing some more. Are you gonna be, like you said, docu-series? Are you gonna be more of a, how'd you say it earlier? Trying to think
The
how you
outreach
said.
projects.
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that.
Well,
All right.
we're basically gonna be a nonprofit and kind of a film fund in essence. We're an outreach media company is basically what you want to summarize us as. So we're looking at doing like a docu-series of 22-minute shows to share these lives, and then we're also going to be creating other outreach projects. Maybe another film will come to life.
That would
Definitely,
be awesome.
yeah, definitely. Public service announcements and things like that. Or be at the be able to produce materials for customers who may want to do it. So we're being a nonprofit, that'll open us up to a whole bunch of different similar organizations, and we can build a network of suicide prevention and help each other out. You know what I'm saying?
Amen to that. Like, I feel you on that more than you know.
Yep. So it's all based around, like I said, originally we thought it was going to be a cannabis legalization thing. And we realized that the suicide prevention is really at the heart of it, just like you're doing. So more power to what you're doing, and let's get them both out there. Let's get our messages clear, because we both have the same, goal and vision and idea that this is a good way to reach people, and this is how we should do it. And I think we need to do it.
Yeah. And that's all you got going though?
Yeah, unless you know something that I'm forgetting right now. I'm trying to keep focused, but I'm got my head full of a bunch of stuff, so I'm probably forgetting a bunch of things.
No, I got you. Well, I wanted to take some time to announce a couple of things that are kind of upcoming for Veteran Coalition. We're going to have a Horses and Heroes Jamboree, and that's a horse behavior demo, camping, fishing, campfires. That's January 4th through 16th, 2022. It's going to be in Lake Wells, Florida, 4809. I think it's Lame Costa Drive, which I can have the stuff put in the comments to make sure everybody has the information. I'll put all this out there. Also, check out Veterans Ranch. They have a website. It's doyougiveabuck.org. It's an awesome thing. The Veteran Ranch, they're really doing big things. I'll also make sure to post the links out for our shows and stuff as well. The event that I was telling you about, which you said on 222, you're doing your thing on 222. We're having our event. It's going to be preventing and putting an end to military suicide. There's going to be jaw fair, smash party, a drone brawl drop, a Project 22 documentary showing, a benefit gala dinner, and a benefit concert after that. So, like, it's going to be a big thing. Like I said, it's the Kalahari at the Kalahari Resort in Wisconsin Dells, and that's going to be on February 22nd. It's going to be amazing. And I will also, there's also going to be another event that my buddy's holding. I'll have to get more information for the next episode, but that's actually going to be in Illinois, I believe, at the end of June, but I'll double check on that. Man, our brothers and sisters are really stepping up and making a change, man. And I just want to thank you for taking your time though today and coming on and stuff. I really do. You know, I got your back. If you need anything, give me a call or video chat with me. You know, I support what you're doing. Anything my brothers and sisters support, or anything our brothers and sisters are doing, trying to make a change for our brothers and sisters, I'm always game to back that up. You know, some people might have stigmatisms about it, but to me, anything that helps our brothers and sisters live a more peaceful and normal life, anything, I'll do anything for my brothers and sisters, just like you. And that's why we are doing what we do, is because we're trying to change the game. But once again, I do want to thank you for coming on the show. So everybody, my name's Justin Jones. I'd like to thank our guest today, Mr. Steve Elmore, for coming on. Go to
Thanks for having
Amazon,
me.
check out that movie documentary. I always say it's a documentary. Go check out the documentary, Unprescribed, on Amazon. I'm Justin Jones with The Missing Continues, and y'all have a great day, and we'll see y'all next week. Bye, everybody.